Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Norman Yo, CEO of the experience agency D Flash. Each week, I bring a different person from business who's doing some game changing work. And today's episode is no different. I'm so excited to have Lindsay Stein, who's the CEO of Today I'm Brave. And I'm going to talk about social good and impact. And since it's a new job for her, what made her decide to make the leap from being in the advertising publishing world into this new one? Should be a great conversation. Take a listen. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, thanks so much for having me.
Sure thing. So we discovered that we're neighbors and we're going to be drinking at Nobu very soon.
I'm very excited about that.
Same. Because now there's outdoor dining. So at the very least, I can have a cocktail. Thank the Lord. Even social distance. So even though we are in this very unusual time of COVID, the podcast stays the same. And so, Lindsay, what was your first job?
Oh, first job, you said?
Yeah.
Oh, like in
whatever you want.
Oh, I'm sorry, like in life. Well, I guess like post college, my first job, I was reporting on local sports, high school, middle school sports. At the time, my goal was to be Erin Andrews. That was like the and it was really fun. It was a startup. It was, God, I think there was only about 6 of us on the team, and we would literally drive to like local sports tournaments, like all up and down the East Coast, and like went to Little League games, went to like the Little League World Series. So it was a really fun first job. And then, from there, made a jump into covering communications and marketing.
And so, so you're doing this first job, and then you jump into communications and marketing. But now you're at this really cool company called Today I'm Brave. So there's a big gap in between there. What was that journey like to get you to be at Today I'm Brave?
Yeah, gosh. So yeah, as you said, it's my second week on the job. It's really exciting. And I'm so honored to be part of such an amazing organization. But yeah, so the way I got into covering from sports into covering marketing and communications is kind of funny because I was probably in my early 20s, and somebody asked me, I was living in New Jersey at the time, and someone said, do you want to come to New York and just be in the background of a commercial? It was a friend. I was like, sure. And they're like, you get to drink tequila. It was like, I think it was a Jose Cuervo commercial at the time. And I was like, yeah, sure, free tequila and get to go to New York for the day. Like, why not? So that was really fun. And then during the day, I was talking to somebody, actually Jonah Bloom, who, if people are listening, he's a pretty like well-known person in the ad industry. He was the editor of PR Week, and then he was the editor of Ad Age, and then he was one of the leaders for Kirschenbaum, KBS, and now he's doing his own thing. But he was like, oh, you're a journalist, like I'd love to see some of your work. I used to be a journalist, so just kept in touch, and he reached out and said, oh, PR Week is looking for a reporter to cover consumer marketing. And I was like, oh, I don't know anything about that world. And he's like, don't worry, it's going to be, he was like luring me in because he was like, you can still cover sports kind of, because you can interview the CMO of the NFL or the CMO of the Yankees. And I was like, okay. So that was how I made that leap. And I was there about 5 years, and then jumped over to Ad Age, and I was there about 3 years covering a creative industry, creative agencies and media agencies. And then I went to campaign as the editor for the US market, and that was where I was right before I joined Today I'm Brave. And I joined Today I'm Brave because I met David Angelo, is the founder, and he's also the CEO of David and Goliath, which is an ad agency. They have offices in the US, and I think they have an office in London. And we've just been professional and personal friends. And I've known about Today I'm Brave since it was founded in 2016. And I loved how passionate he was about the mission. And, we've talked about it, and I've even written about it. And then he, came to me and said, look, like, we really want to invest more in this nonprofit. We think there's so much more we can do, but we really need a leader behind it, because he's the founder, but he also is running his own agency. So he's like, the team behind it says we really want to bring on a CEO. And that's, where I am now.
So easy, very short story. No bumps in the road whatsoever. It was a smooth sailing without any trouble.
Yeah.
Somehow I feel like that's not the case. But yeah, so you were working for campaign, and so obviously covering the advertising industry. Like, what was that like? Especially, having, I have to say that I'm Switzerland, whereby I have one foot in and one foot out of the advertising industry because I am an events agency, but we work with agencies all the time, and so I sort of can sort of stay out of the crazy. But you were knee deep in that. What in the world was that like?
Oh man, that's such a big question. God, I mean, I loved covering the industry. And I do love the ad industry, and we still are going to be partnering with a lot of the agencies and marketers, of course, in this role where I'm at now. But I mean, it was exciting every day. I would say there was always something different, whether it's covering an RFP or a new AOR or, the characters in this industry are incredible. The chief creative officers, the chief strategy officers, the CEOs. I mean, like you do these podcasts, you meet so many characters.
Characters is the correct
yes. And I mean, so many different personalities. I loved that. And I mean, one of my biggest things at campaign that I loved the most was that since I was the editor, I got to figure out the platform, like, the voice behind what I wanted to do. And I really wanted to focus on, more gender equality in the industry and advertising, and more inclusivity and diversity and more purposeful work. So those were things that we really heavily focused on when I was at campaign. And I loved seeing some of the changes happening. I mean, yeah, it was exciting, and it was a whirlwind, and I was never, ever bored.
I can only imagine. So along the way, so now that you're at Today I'm Brave, what's sort of your charge? What are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah. So just for people who might not be familiar with Today I'm Brave, we were founded 4 years ago, and it all pretty much started in Sierra Leone, and we partnered with Shine On Sierra Leone. And we went there, obviously it was before I was there, but we went there and helped rebuild a village in Sierra Leone where 63 kids lost their parents due to Ebola. So they built a school, and they really helped out the whole town there. They were there for quite a while, and we still do work with them. And then they went to Puerto Rico after the hurricane, and they built 100 roofs in Puerto Rico. And basically our philosophy is that if we can unlock bravery within individuals, organizations, and brands, the world would just be a better place. So we want to help everyone become a little braver. But right now we are streamlining the mission, and we're working on a new architecture for the nonprofits. But in this first 2 weeks I've been doing, it'll probably be the next month or so. And we'll launch this new mission statement. But our focus is going to be around children and youth. And it's going to be helping them overcome their biggest obstacles in social health, education, and diversity, and helping them unlock their bravery to overcome those obstacles.
Wow. So small mission.
Yeah, no big deal.
And how are you guys sort of reacting with regard to COVID and all this kind of scary aspects that probably impacts your industry?
Yeah. So let's see. First off, before I joined, they did work on something called the Serving Support Project, where they were helping doctors, nurses, and hospital staff within California. So I am based in New York, but the nonprofit was originally founded in California. I think they were also helping essential workers outside of it, but that was something they didn't PR or anything. That was just something they were doing on their own. And then right now we also have this empathy mask program that we're going to be launching in early September. And it's basically like a buy one and we're going to give one to certain nonprofits, give half of the proceeds. And the masks are really cool. And I'll definitely send you some when they come in. They're really, really pretty. And the whole thing around that is that, like, we want to kind of change the way we look at masks, because we want to reframe the conversation. We know that people don't like wearing them, but we have to wear them. So the reason we're going to wear them is around empathy. So it's about caring about each other and moving forward and healing and bridging a divide. So basically it is, get one and then share one with a friend, family member, or even a stranger. So that is really exciting. And so those things, like in response to COVID, those are something that we call, we actually just created this earlier this week, something that I'm going to be calling Brave 24/7, because they're a little bit outside of our mission statement around children and youth, but we do want to be able to be always on for, unforeseen circumstances like a pandemic, so we want to make sure like we can respond in ways that, we want to help the world be braver, even in crazy circumstances like these. So that is part of our Brave 24/7 remit.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's so cool to see what nonprofits are doing in response to COVID, because it is sort of like all hands on deck.
Yeah.
Because it's obviously it's been 102 years since there's been some sort of pandemic,
Yeah.
and everyone's trying to freak out about how. But it's also there's a heavy duty situation around mental health, and especially with kids, because like they want to hang out with their friends, but they also want to go back to school. But then it's like, well, what can we do to make sure everyone stays safe? And that's just an insane challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, as you guys sort of go out into the universe, like what's been like, and having now come from being on the journalism side and now onto the nonprofit side, in your career, looking back on everything that you've done, like what's been a challenge where you're like, there's no way I'm getting through this, and then you did?
Oh, that's a good question. Oof. I don't know if this is going to answer exactly the way you want me to, but I remember one of the most challenging things that I dealt with when I was a reporter was reporting on the Me Too movement and Time's Up. And I think the reason why it was so challenging was because you wanted, or I guess I should say, I wanted to really help all these women who would come forward and tell their stories, and it's very challenging to do that legally. There's so many things you have to make sure you do especially if you're talking about a potential predator, or and you're talking to these victims. So I remember being pretty stressed out a lot of the time, because I really was working so hard to tell these stories, and we did, especially when I was at Ad Age, we did a lot. We helped tell so many stories and helped kind of uncover some, men.
Awful shit.
Yeah. I'm like trying to be so political, like some really bad behavior. And we, I just remember it was bittersweet, because every time I would report on something and get a story out there that felt like I was helping, it also felt like it wasn't helping enough, or there was still so much more that needed to be done. So it was like, oh, okay, yes, like small victory, like was able to uncover this person and the bad behavior behind them, but there's just so much more. And it kind of felt like you could never do enough. And there's still so many stories out there that need to be told. And I hope that other journalists are, especially in the ad trades, working to tell those stories.
Because, well, that's the thing. It's like, I think it's such a dark period.
Yeah.
And then trying to get folks to come forward, and then it's like, and it also is like whack-a-mole. Like you find one and there's like 16 more over here, and it's so deeply entrenched, and exactly. So it doesn't end.
No, exactly. Hopefully it will at some point. I think things are getting a little better. I mean, they're definitely not it's not fixed yet. We actually had a column when I was at campaign called Are We There Yet? And that was around anything, diversity and inclusion efforts, pay equity, like ageism, anything that was, are we there yet? Is everything balanced? And of course the answer was no, we're not, but we loved getting the perspectives of people, tell, what's going on in their world and why we're not there yet, what little victories we are making, because we also should celebrate, the small victories as we get all to a path of, equality and balance.
But yeah, I think that's a really important part. That, like, we have to celebrate our wins, and we can't always be Captain Dark Cloud, because that doesn't solve anything. We're at this moment of like, heavy duty diversity inclusion, obviously in the industry, and like, oh my gosh, racial unrest. I had no idea that Amy Kuberts existed. Isn't it terrible? And I'm like, it did. Okay. But also, like, there's some really tremendous work that's being done. There's really amazing people who've been in the credentials for a long time. Celebrate those wins too, because if you always go for the dark stuff, then there's never any room for the good stuff. And I think that people get so weighed down by all the darkness, especially when we're in this wacky period of COVID, that we need to celebrate the good news.
Oh, 100%. I completely agree with you. I'm definitely one of those people who, I'm an optimist. I'm a realistic optimist, which is like also something, but I'm definitely an optimist, and you have to, especially in a time like, time like today. It's like uncertain times. There's so much craziness going on. So, you have to look at the good side.
It's so necessary. So, thinking about the good side, what would you tell 21-year-old Lindsay, looking back on where you are today?
Ooh, let's see. What would I tell 21-year-old Lindsay? I think I would say to not let that like fear of failure or that fear of trying something new hold you back. I think that people say no to a lot of things because out of fear, they're scared of doing something wrong, and that fear can really hold you back from so many opportunities. And even not just fear, but like just saying no because I don't want to do that. You're invited to something with new people, and maybe it's just like, I don't want to go, it's too far. But I feel like say yes more to certain opportunities because you just don't know what can come out of it. So I'd say like say yes more to certain things, and lose that fear, because that fear is just going to hold you back from where your potential.
Thank you for saying that. I think sometimes folks forget this and assume that, like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be in this room. Like, no. And you're like, yes, if you get invited, go. Like, your story is just it. You happen to be there.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and the key is to, like, when you get in these situations, don't be a wallflower. Like, talk to the people. Don't be afraid.
Absolutely.
But also, it's not like, but you won't solve everything by the time you're 30 either. That's the hardest part that I think people forget. So it's obviously it's wild right now, and it's super duper stressful.
Yeah.
And it's hard to kind of wrap your arms around this. So we're what 5 months into this. I don't know what day it is. It's Blur's Day, I think. How are you navigating your self care? Because obviously, you told us how you move. Like what have you been able to do to like keep your wits about you during this craziness time?
Oh, I mean, I know we actually talked about this right before we started recording, but I think going for walks has been so helpful. Like I live close to like the Hudson River, so just going up and down that path, like, even if it was raining out on certain days or if it was cold back in March, I would still make sure I went out just to get some fresh air. I think everyone's on constant Zoom calls and they're sitting at their laptop more than ever before. So really getting that air was huge. I did yoga more than I used to, just, in my apartment, just kind of having that Zen state. Also just making sure I connected with friends and family. I mean, because, sometimes you're on all these calls all day and then it gets to the end of the day and the last thing you want to do is like talk more to somebody. You just want to like zone out and like Netflix and chill. But I made sure I kept in constant contact with like really close friends and family also. Even if it was like a quick call, just like checking in, like, love you, are you okay? Making sure like the people I love knew I'm thinking about them. That was really important for me. And I kept saying I was going to read more, and honestly, I didn't read as much as I wanted to. And I'm
Shame.
Like, so bad. So I'm still trying to do that. You'd think that would be something that you do, because I used to read all the time, and now I feel like COVID almost paused my reading habits. I need to get back into that. But
Oh, I'm right there with you. I thought I have all these books that I have that I was like, oh, I'm finally gonna have a chance to like be home and read, and I've read none of them.
Yep. I mean, I did watch a lot of Netflix, I will be honest. But
Yeah, I watched the entire Marvel universe. I'd seen a few of them, and obviously I saw the Avengers of Infinity War and the Endgame, like every other reasonable human in America.
Yeah.
But I never knew the whole backstory of them all. And it was good, sort of mindless fun to sort of zen and just kind of watch this kind of cartoon violence.
Yeah, you need that, and you need that kind of like thing to like zone out, because there were some shows I was watching that were really heavy, and then I was like, oh,
right.
I don't know if you want to deal with that. Sometimes you do want heavy because it's great, it's great quality video, but then I was like, sometimes I just want like a silly kind of like fun show.
Yeah, like cheesy, like that's why I think people went nuts over Tiger King when that came
Oh
out,
my
because we
God.
were just like
Yes, that seems like forever ago now, right?
That was last year.
Yeah,
Or 2 years
that
ago.
is crazy.
Meanwhile, Carol Baskin is back complaining about the WAP video.
Oh my
So
God.
the Tigers were going to be hurt in the video. I'm like, are you serious, lady?
Oh,
Like,
so funny. We have to thank whoever made that documentary for entertaining us during those first few weeks of COVID.
yeah, I think it probably saved a lot of people because it was something to sort of, again, lose your mind and like not look out the window and go like, oh my God, we're all in I Am Legend. This is
It's
terrible.
so funny.
So how did you navigate moving during COVID? Because you were saying when we were chatting earlier that like you actually did move. Like, how
Yeah,
does one do that?
it honestly wasn't that bad. I just use I actually use a TaskRabbit, and TaskRabbit is great. It's like I didn't have that much to move. I just moved from Washington Heights to Tribeca, and it wasn't too bad. I just the guy that I worked with. I think the mover, his name was Dimitri. He used like he wore gloves and wore a mask. The only issue is that he couldn't go into the building with me, so he had to like unload my stuff. Luckily I didn't have a lot of stuff. I live with two girls, and the other girls already had like a couch and like a TV, so I only moved like bedroom furniture, like a nightstand and all of that. And I wound up ordering a new bed and having it delivered because that was just easier to do.
Of course,
So
when in doubt, just
yes,
have it
so
delivered.
honestly it was just like a lot of like lifting up and down one day. The only big pain too was the elevators are, it was like 1% at a time in the elevator, and I'm on the 28th floor. So it was
Oh
just a lot
God.
of trips and like waiting for the elevator and waiting for people. And, sweaty summer moving, but it was done and it's good. And I'm still like in the process of decorating and moving stuff around, but yeah, it wasn't too bad.
Oh, that's wild. I forgot about the one person per elevator. Yeah, my building never got to that stage. We're at quote unquote 50% capacity
Oh, wow. Okay.
with our elevators, but obviously, but they mask mandated us very early, like early March. They were just like, and the signs went up everywhere saying you cannot, and they shut down our gym and like our rooftop so that people would behave. And it did work like that. You got compliance. People were like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the one elevator, one person per elevator. My God, with 28 floors. Oh my God, uh, that
Yeah.
is bananas.
Yeah. I don't even know how many are above that. I probably should know that, but
It's all good.
yeah.
So okay, so you're 2 weeks into Brave, so a long way to go. Where do you think you guys would be in about a year from now?
Let's see, a year from now, I mean, we have 3 tentpole events we want to launch. One of them we're going to definitely launch before the end of this year. And it's kind of a weird time to join. So like everything I'm putting in place, we're saying like, rest of 2020 to end 2021. So one we want to launch this year, and they're going to be, each one will be focused on one of the pillars. So one will be around diversity, one will be around education, and one will be around health. So by this time next year, we'll have probably all of them launched, and that'll be really exciting. And just want to, get more Brave ambassadors on board. I had a great call with this girl today. I'll keep her name out of it for now until she's officially on, but she's an amazing, inspirational 14-year-old girl who has been through a lot in her life, and she helps empower other young girls right now, and she's a motivational speaker. And so like she is going to be a new Brave ambassador for us and tell her story, and then help empower other people who've been through similar situations as she's been, to help them get through their own obstacles in life. So get more Brave ambassadors on board, launch our tentpole events, and just hopefully getting more people to live the Brave mantra, which is around like losing that fear, helping other people, not being afraid to ask questions, and just really living your best self.
Awesome. And are you guys going to be switching to virtual since we can't see each other in person until
Oh,
2025?
I know. It's so disappointing. Yeah. Like even for our Brave ambassadors, we're going to have to film. We usually would film in person, and we're going to have to film remotely for now. Hopefully in a year from now, we'll be able to see each other in person and hold some events and stuff. I mean, I would love to love to see everyone in real life. I mean, that was one of my favorite parts of being a reporter too, is just, meeting people for like cocktails or coffee and like networking and meeting people and hearing their stories. And I mean, obviously Zoom is amazing and podcasts are great and I love all of that, but I don't think anything beats that in-person interaction and like that connection you make with people when you're in real life. So in a year from now, hopefully we'll also be able to do that.
Yeah, it really does suck to not be in person for stuff. It really, there's no way around it. And it's like it's the beating heart of all of our industries. Like I think we all took it for granted, and now we're like, oh, that's why this was cool. Like go and grab a drink, go and go chatting by the cheese and you're at an event, and getting to build those relationships off of that shared joke you had at the conference with someone, and going from there. So now it really is going to be interesting to see how we all adapt to this brave, pun intended, new world.
Yes, absolutely. I'm optimistic.
Awesome. Yeah, same. I think that, look, as long as life is hope. So I don't think we should go down the dark and scary path. Like we'll figure it out and we'll get through it. Definitely. And so my last fun question for you is, if you have a give and or an ask of the audience, and so this can be anything. It could be, I hope you all like meditate, or it could be, I would love for you guys to sign up for Today on Brave. Anything you want.
Anything I want.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would love for everyone to to sign up for Today on Brave. I mean, I would love for everyone to check out some of the brave stories, but also I'd love for people to share their own brave stories with me. I mean, I'm pretty easy to find on social media, so like the girl I talked to today was because her agent reached out to me on LinkedIn and said, like, we saw your brave ambassadors and think that she should be a brave ambassador because of everything that she's been through and how she wants to help people. I mean, I love hearing those stories, so I would love for more people to reach out to me and tell me their brave stories, and don't be shy to do that. And everyone has their own brave story. Every single person has done something in their life that, proves that they're bravery. So, I mean, definitely reach out, share your story, and want to, keep connecting with people.
Awesome. See, that was easy. So Lindsay, we're going to keep on chatting because we have drinks to have. Yeah. But yeah, so we'll put all the details for Today on Brave in the show notes so folks can share their brave stories with you, because I think, especially at this particular moment, people remembering their everyday bravery is really important and excellent for self-care at this particular moment. So I think what you guys are doing is amazing. So we want to share and amplify across all of our channels. And thank you so much for being on the show.
Oh, thank you so much. This was a pleasure. And I can't wait for those in-person drinks.
Likewise.
Distance drinks.
Socially distance, the word of the year is going to be socially distance, because
yes, actually the second most used phrase is going to be, oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Yes. You're so right. Oh my God, that happens at least once a day on a call that I'm on, yes. And seriously, and you're like, why is it? I can't hear anybody. Like, oh, sorry, I was on mute.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. But thank you so much, Lindsay. And as I said, we'll put all the details for Today on Brave in the show notes, and we encourage you all to check it out, share your stories, reach out to Lindsay, and let everyone know your bravery. It's really important.
Thank you so much.
Sure thing. And that is our show.